Here we are once again, fourth edition of the Webcam Weekly Wrapup, where I go over my week that was, all the random foolishness, shenanigans, funny stories that are 100% true. I couldn't make these up if I tried. The funny thing is, I've been trying for the last few weeks to get these under 20 minutes, manageable, bite size, and it's not happening. So, what I've tried to do this time is, again, hedge my bets. I am recording this on my Clipchamp video editing app software on the computer. And the thing about this is, it's 30 minutes is the most you can record. I haven't gone over 30 minutes yet, but at least seeing at the bottom of the screen the timer ticking, I'm hoping it's going to keep me on point. And this is going to be a hard one because there's a lot to get into. So many funny things happened this week. And I said, of course, every time I say I'm going to keep it under 20 minutes, more funny things happen, but we do what we can. This week marked the 15-year anniversary of one of my first ever YouTube videos. I called it Caught in a Rising Tide because that's what happened. Let's flash back to October 6th, 2009. I had probably like a Fuji Fine Pix point and shoot camera, but it shot video, not well, but it did. I went to Wing Island in Brewster. It's behind the Cape Cod Museum of Natural History. And I said, "Oh man, that's great. I'm going to go out. It's early fall. It won't be many people out there. I can get pictures of the beach, pictures of whatever animals might be out there." And I'm walking across. You go through a little bit of woods, you come to a marshy area, and you cross. There's pairs of wooden planks that lead you across to Wing Island because when it's high tide, it's an actual island. So I walk out there. The boards are a little squishy, but nothing that registered in my mind. So I'm out there on Wing Island for, I don't know, might have been an hour, taking pictures, enjoying the scenery, Cape Cod Bay. Then I come back, and wouldn't you know it, I did well in school. I guess I forgot what tides were because the tide had come in, and I'm not saying I should have known, the timing of tides, how long it would take for the water to rise. But I would have thought going to a place that I wasn't familiar with, I might have checked the tides in advance, but I didn't. What ended up happening was there was foot and a half, 2 feet of water between where I was on Wing Island and where I needed to go to the Cape Cod Museum of Natural History. So I knew it was going to be a viral moment. So I took video of me walking across with my shoes on, socks on, pants on. People have said after the fact, "Why didn't you just take your shoes and socks off?" And I counter that with, okay, there are these wooden planks and it's salt water, it's a marshy area. What if I get splinters or cut or something and then it gets infected? And then it's, do I rather get my shoes and socks wet or get a foot amputated because I got gangrene from these planks? The anniversary comes and I decide, you know what, 15 years, I'm going to go back, create a sequel video, which is pretty good. I use my selfie stick, the same one that's got the ring light here. And I went out and shot. It's a mix of funny, a little bit of travel-ish video, but I did it in correspondence with my niece Emma's birthday because my nieces, Kaylee and Emma, that's one of their favorite things that I've ever done is that video, the embarrassing commentary of me just cursing out my situation, which it is. It's good. I enjoy it. If you can't laugh at yourself, what can you do? So, yeah. And that's what I like about this podcast setup is that I've got this area where I can then share clips of this rather than having you close your eyes and imagine what happened. I decided to treat myself to a Domino's pizza this week. I like Domino's. I know not everyone does, but I mean, I've got in my notes here, they've got over 20,000 restaurants. So you may all watch this. Oh, I don't like Domino's. Well, someone does. 20,000 locations? Jesus. Anyway, I ordered a medium, 3 topping. It's not good for you, but it is good. And I got there and they bring me my order, and it's a large instead of a medium. And I checked my receipt and I'm like, oh, that is me. But I don't know why I thought either they screwed up or I was special. Turns out it was neither. They were doing a promotion where they automatically upgraded you from, I guess, mediums to large. So that's what I got. I got home and I was like, man, they really screwed this up. But no, all I did was give me several extra hundred empty calories that I felt obligated to eat. So I've got a couple of insect stories. Ooh, there's excitement. Don't worry, they're funny, I promise. So I was at work one of the days this week, and I'm zoned out looking at my computer, doing paperwork, trying to get caught up. And I get into a zone because as a trainer, I've got to put in people's notes, what they did, weights, reps, what I recommend we do going forward. All this minutia that it's important. I need to know what people are doing instead of having cookie cutter workouts. So I'm zoned out, staring down at the computer screen. I don't notice until it's way too close and way too late that a little spider had been coming down with the web. And I'm not kidding. It was between my eyes, like an inch away. And all of a sudden, there it is. I mean, I jumped because it's tiny, but it's just there all of a sudden. But don't worry, I didn't smash it. I reached up above and I grabbed the web string and I took the spider and put it on the floor. So it probably walked away. The other insect story is in our office we are notorious for having stowaway crickets, meaning that we'll be all sitting around, well, not sitting, we'll all be working and crickets will suddenly like one, usually one, you'll hear it peeping and it's typically either so loud that it echoes off the walls or it's muffled where you can't figure out where it is. And it's been notorious. They'll be around. I don't know where they get in from. Maybe they get into the mail slot, whatever. People still have mail slots. I'm sure they do. Anyway, there was a cricket. It was in the lobby and I saw it. So I said, okay, there's other people in the lobby. So I've got to try to be nice. I got a little paper cup that was like cone shaped and a tissue. And I asked the cricket, come on now, get in there. I'm not going to hurt you. And I got it. It actually crawled into the cup, probably because it had no choice, not because it was trying to help me out. But I put him in the cup and then no, I'm just kidding. Like I said, there were people in the office. I wouldn't have done that. I let it outside in the leaves. It probably got eaten by something right away, but whatever. I'm not going to worry about that. And if you think crickets doing that, you know, letting you remove them from the premises is a one time thing, I actually did it a second time a few days later, where it actually crawled into the cup and the tissue. And I'm like, well, this really works. I don't know. I'm not the cricket whisperer, but maybe I am. If I can get army of thousands of crickets that wouldn't do anything, but still to say I had one would be great. I don't know about you out there as far as your sleep schedules. I am now, as I approach 47 in a few weeks. God. Anyway, as I approach 47, I am more of a morning person than I ever used to be. I'm not an early morning person, but if I'm left to my circadian rhythm, like this morning, I got up at 7. I'm not working per se. I mean, I am. Content work is work. I'm trying to get paid to do this. So, anyway, when I have to get up early, which is Wednesday, Thursdays, it's a struggle the night before to get to bed because I'll usually go to bed around 10:30. What this is leading to is how do I get up early in the mornings? Melatonin. My regimen over the last several years has been Tuesday night, Wednesday night, 7:30 I pop 2 melatonin, 8:30 I pop a third, and by 9 I'm deceased. I'm like knocked out. But the thing is it's been, many months, a couple of years that I have to do this routine and still I set my alarm at 5:20. That is the last possible moment that I can get up and still have relatively enough time to get to work. But I usually get up around 4:40 And despite that, despite doing this week in and week out for years, it's still a minor miracle that I can get up at that time. I'm always like, wow, I can't believe it. I woke up. It's like I'm as surprised as that as I am at how the sunset gets earlier, quicker this time of year. It's like it goes from sunsetting at 8 to today. I think the sun sets at 6:05. So, but every year I'm always like, wow, I can't believe the sunset is this early. It's like, yeah, it's every year. Surprise. Oh boy. So, nothing is better than being awakened from a sound sleep by the loudest thunderclaps you've ever heard that literally shake the house. We had, so this would have been a couple days ago from when I'm recording this, a monster severe thunderstorm outbreak in the morning here, Cape Cod, New England. I didn't know. I don't always check the weather, but I was awakened at 3:30. I tried for probably 5 minutes to lay back down and go back to sleep, but every clap of thunder and then lightning through my window, it was like, forget it. I can't sleep. So I ended up getting out of bed and just waking up at about 3:45. It's like one of those psychos that gets up to go to the gym at 5 a.m. Like, I enjoy the early morning once I'm up, but like if I have no choice, but if I have a choice, I'd rather sleep till 7. The funny thing is, my buddy Steve and I, who I've mentioned on these shows before, we used to do sunrise photo trips where we would get up at 3:30 and drive to Rhode Island or Maine and get pictures of the sunrise. And I'm at the point now where I'm like, no, as much as it would be fun, it's like if you could transport me there, keep me in the bed, put me in the back of like a van or something and bring me out, maybe. But the thought of waking up, popping a 5-hour energy, which I would call an eye opener, and then going, it doesn't appeal to me anymore. By the way, 5-hour energy. Oh, I can't show them. 5 hour. They still don't sponsor me. I've got the countdown going. Come on. Sponsor my travel trips, my road trips with photography, or just sponsor the podcast. I could always say that I'm as wacky and crazy as ever because of your lovely product that I like. Otherwise, fine, don't. A fun memory that popped up in my Facebook memories this week, in addition to the Caught in the Rising Tide video, was a story from 2016 that centers around me, my sister Ashley, and a nice guy that seemed creepy. Ashley and I were at a place called Long Nook Beach in Truro. It's very remote. There's like no cell phone service. You park the edge of the parking lot, you go down the dunes to walk to the beach, and it's, gosh, probably a 60-foot walk. It goes down either way. The beach is now closed because there's erosion from walking down the dunes for years. But back then it was open. So it's obviously this time of year, October, misty, mid 50s. We're at the beach and we're looking down the beach, down the dune pathway. And there's a man walking up and he's got a bike, like a regular bicycle. I don't know why he brought it down with him there. You can't really ride it. It wasn't a fat tire bike. But we're standing there and all of a sudden we hear a pop. One of his tires just exploded. I don't know if there was glass in the sand or if his bike was just crap, but Ashley and I look at each other and we're like, well, it's misty, it's remote, Truro. So we wanted to do a good deed. So we offered to have this guy put his bike and get in himself into my car. And we drove him to his house. His house was in more remote Truro. Like I could have dropped this setting in the middle of the woods in like the Appalachian Mountains or something. He had what was a two-story house, but it would be one of those ones where the first story is at ground level, the second one is a basement, but it opens up kind of to ground level. Does that make sense? I'm trying to describe it. I'll try to find a picture to explain. I can see it in my head. Anyway, I digress. The man is very grateful and he we offer to help him bring the bike inside, which I don't know why. It doesn't take three people to bring a a 10-speed bike into a house. That's mistake number one. Years later, Ashley and I said it was like we were making all the wrong decisions you would make in a horror movie. So we go inside his house, which was like a sliding door. It was kind of a basement y look, but it was a finished basement. And he's like, I need to repay you. So would you like some tea? And we look at each other again, and it's like, he'll make tea, but he'll probably do it with his back to us, and you'll hear the sploosh of something being dropped into our tea. So we politely refused that, but he was insistent on giving us a token of his thanks, everything except handing us money. It's like, really? Money says everything when you're trying to thank someone. There's a quote to put on a t shirt. Money says everything when you try to thank someone, or whatever I said. His his last ditch effort, because we were heading for the door. We were like, he's probably got a machete behind his fridge. But his last ditch effort was handing us a CD, like a mix CD. It was handwritten, and we were trying to figure out. I can't remember if it was music he made or someone he knew. We got in my car, and I know we opened it and we were playing a little of it. I don't remember how the music was. All I remember is after a song or two, we were looking for a trash can where to throw that thing. Has that ever happened to any of you, though, where it ends up being a good deed and everything went well, but when you look back, you're like, boy, that could have gone south really fast. Where it's like, this guy could have easily killed us, taken my car, buried us in the woods in Truro. Yeah, there's a lot of open space out there. We'll end on this as I'm trying to keep this under 20 minutes. I'm not going to make it. Of course not. It's like, but at least I've got enough time before Clip Champ shuts me down. 30 minutes? Fine. No, I like their product. They're really good for editing video, so I don't want to badmouth them. I'm just trying to be funny. Haha. We'll end on this though. First time in my life this week, I got to see in person the Aurora Borealis, aka the Northern Lights. I've gone on a lot of photo trips. I've seen a lot of places, and there are very few photo excursions I've done in my life that will top what I saw with the Northern Lights. And you'll see there's going to be loads of photos. These are slightly touched up more for the lighting than anything else. What's neat about this is I had gotten word that they might be visible Cape Cod, even further south. People had videos in Virginia, New Jersey of the Aurora Borealis. But because the sun sets early, I remembered, yay, every year it does that. I figured I was leaving my mother's house and I would take the long way home. So I'd have an excuse to stop at this place called Bass Hole. The real name is Gray's Beach, but whatever. Bass Hole is what I've always called it. I used to hang out there high school nights with my friends John and Barry. That's a whole other story of the shenanigans we got into. But I went there figuring it would be dark, you're facing north, and it should be not too crowded. Boy, was I wrong. Surprised that other people had the same information as me. I pulled up to Bass Hole in the middle of October, a Thursday night. The temperature was around 50. It was windy. There were probably 200 people there. I might be slightly exaggerating. I didn't count them. I do know that people I knew were there that I only found out after the fact when we all posted pictures on social media from like the same vantage point. But when I first got there, you could see it with the naked eye, the almost like fluorescent pink in the sky. And then the lower you got, it was more greenish, slightly purplish. What was cool though was my phone could see what my eye couldn't see. which was maddening. I'm looking at the sky and I'm like, why is it? There was slight color, but nothing like when I would open my phone up and yeah, don't mind my case that's all ruined. Anyway, but holding my phone up and seeing everything and doing long exposure photos, the best I could do with my phone was 10 seconds, although I think I can get to 30, but I didn't have this selfie stick here. It doubles as a tripod. So obviously I could put my phone on it, do a timed long exposure, meaning that you put a timer on so that when you hit the button to for the shutter to start, your touching the button doesn't jostle the camera, the phone. That's a little trick that Steve taught me. And I was taking all these long exposure photos, and every one of them, it was mind blowing that this was real, that we were really seeing this. And there were dozens and dozens of people there. Some had real cameras, and I mean DSLR cameras. I had wished I had brought mine, but I didn't know. I went to work at, I left the house at 6 a.m. During the day, I found out that the Aurora Borealis might be visible, and I didn't want to go home, get my camera, go back to my mother's, and then, but it was so much fun because I'm there with my phone and I'm texting with Steve, with my sister Ashley, and we're sharing photos from because we're all at three different places. And it was just like a fun adventure where you were all in on it. All the people there were just having fun and they were pointing out to each other, oh, try this spot over here. I ended up underneath a dock because the tide was kind of low. So I was under a dock shooting the famed Bass Hole Boardwalk. It really was like a rock concert atmosphere. Now, I'm recording this show on a Friday. I post them on a Monday. There is a chance the Aurora Borealis will be back tonight. Steve and I are going out to the outer Cape where it's darker and less populated. So maybe next week on this podcast, there'll be more photos, or it'll be me being sad that we wasted our time driving out in the cold. Well, it's not that cold, but cold enough. That basically wraps up the week, though. A lot of fun stuff, a lot of fun memories. The Aurora Borealis was amazing. For the rest of the Initial Impressions 2.0 blog, upon which this podcast is based around, check out the blog. If you enjoy my content, these podcasts, the audio ones, the YouTube videos, the blogs, and you want to support me, go to patreon.com/in my footsteps podcast. $5 a month gets you access to bonus podcast episodes, early access to even these. I think I post these 24 to 48 hours early, depending on how long it takes me to edit them. And you can always do other things, buy me a coffee. I have that, or support my content by sharing it. That's as important as anything because I'm at the point with the audio podcast that I can get advertisements on it, which I know not everyone likes ads when they're listening to podcasts, but it's a reflection on me where I am with my listeners, that I'm at the point where people are like, oh, we can advertise with him. He's got enough listeners. I mean, I broke that threshold. I might go back, but hopefully not. You can check out any of my 9 books. ChristopherSutherland.com's got links to all of them. And like I said, the audio podcast, that's approaching 4 years. Before I recorded this, I recorded episode 167, which will be going up in a couple weeks. I try to be ahead of schedule just in case anything unforeseen happens that I needed to take time off if I got sick or something. But thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you're enjoying these. I've tried to keep them under 20 minutes. That has been a fail. I'll keep trying. I've tried to work on the lighting, the audio, this whole setup with Clipchamp. We'll see how this one goes. It's a work in progress. I've never done video based podcasts. The audio ones, I've got so much leeway as far as what I do with editing. There's only so much. I have cues for myself on how I know where to snip things. So there's not all pictures of me just drinking energy drinks. And what does he do? It's useless. But I'll be back next week for the 5th installment. But until then, this has been the Webcam Weekly Wrap Up number 4. I'm Christopher Setterlin. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.